Today's guest is probably one of the most requested musicians to ever have on my show. He is a legendary guitarist that got his big break in the band Join Forces, going on tour with Joan Jett and being featured in the movie Light of Day starring Joan Jett and Michael J. Fox. His bands also include Maxx Explosion, Bell Attack, Archangel, MVP, Beyond Purple, House of Lords, the Geezer Butler Band, Lost Symphony, and Autograph. So without further ado, please welcome the legendary guitarist, Jimi Bell, to the Claw's Corner. How are you?
Richard, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's a real honor. Thanks, brother.
Well, it's an honor too. And I'm not even kidding when I say this. I have a lot of musician friends. And as I was mentioning off the air, I've interviewed people like Max Gale, Adrian Barbeau, Dee Wallace, Carmine Appice. The number one person, you got to get Jimi Bell. You got to get Jimi Bell. Finally, which I want to start the conversation with, is that I met you for the first time. I can't believe it. After all these years, you were playing at this place called Mags, M-A-G-S.
Yeah.
Beyond Purple, which is a great band. It's the best of Deep Purple, White Snake, and Rainbow. Three great bands, and you play all the best of all three. So we'll start with that. How did that band get started?
Well, I've been very good friends with the singer Mike Gill and Mark Zito, the keyboard player, and of course BJ, the drummer, and I have such long history together. Since 1999, him and I've been recording and going on tour together. And of course, Brian is sort of new to the band. We had a different bass player when we started, but how it happened was, we were all sitting around talking about different ideas. We all figured that we wanted to do something while in between tours. Let's do something. We'll put together another type band, just something else to do. And we had tossed around doing a lot of different ideas, and then I grew up being a huge Deep Purple fan, and Richie Blackmore was one of my main influences as a guitarist. So I started thinking about, there's so many things that branched off of Deep Purple. I said, not just the different versions of Deep Purple, but so many individual artists that happen to be associated with Deep Purple or members of Deep Purple and have went on to solo careers, and even members of Deep Purple had joined other bands, and everything. So I said, this would be a really cool thing to do, like a Deep Purple family tree, just kind of like. Now, I mean, I could have really taken it extreme. I could have started with, obviously we do all the three different singers, Rod Evans, Ian Gillan, and David Coverdale, so we cover that in the Deep Purple thing. But then, of course, Richie left and did Rainbow. And then in Rainbow, you had Ronnie James Dio, you had Graham Bonnet, Joe Lynn Turner, he had even a few others after that. So, I mean, it's amazing that what you could do. I mean, but if you wanted to even take it a step further, you have Ronnie James Dio went off and did a solo career, and then he was with Black Sabbath. Yeah. Ian Gillan even joined Black Sabbath for a record. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's all the Graham Bonnet did Alcatraz. So I could have really gone crazy with it, but I really wanted to stick it to, just doing the three: Deep Purple, Rainbow, and White Snake. Now, I love playing the White Snake, and I have to say, when we play, when we do the songs, the White Snake really goes over. More or less with the women. Women love White Snake. They really do. They love David Coverdale. Those are great songs, and it just works out really cool. I didn't want to go into any weird deep cuts either. I could have, a lot of people say, oh, why don't you do Gates of Babylon from Rainbow? And great song, great guitar playing through it and everything, but I kind of wanted to stick it to the song, stick to the songs that everybody knows, the more popular ones, like I get people throwing out all kinds of cuts from Deep Purple at me, but I think the songs that we picked are the ones that everybody knows, just like the ones at Rainbow. We do a lot of the Joe Lynn Turner ones because those were pretty popular. That's when Richie, had a little bit more of a commercial sound going on, and those got a lot of radio play. A lot of those tracks.
I love Street of Dreams. I love that song. I love that. Yeah. So I
what
agree
an incredible track.
And what I want to say is you made the right decision, because I was at that bar watching the band and a couple sat down with me, and the wife, you could tell she was just there because of her husband loved the music, but she's like, oh, I know that song. Oh, wait, they play that. So I think it's smart you did that, because probably the people who were mentioning that, so you should play this, play that, are musicians, and they know all the deep tracks. For the most people who want to go there, have a couple beers and hear something that they're familiar with. So I love the fact you play the greatest hits of all three bands. And it's such a great time. And as you said, as soon as you played Still of the Night, all the women came running up to the front,
Yeah,
screaming. It was funny.
You know, it's one of these things, and you're exactly right with what you said. The people that throw out the deep cut songs are, you know, they're either hardcore Deep Purple fans that know the catalog extremely well and just have some really favorites of theirs that are deep cuts. But basically, a lot of it is musicians. When you get into you know, especially covering something with Richie Blackmore, they want to hear more of the crazy, like I said, Gates of Babylon has an incredible guitar solo that Richie does in it. And I know it's, you know, there's lots of bands that would cover that type stuff, but I just wanted to keep it more commercial. I wanted to make it more, you know, more popular as far as what we're playing, you know. I didn't want to get too out there, you know. So
I remember in the early to mid 90s, tribute bands were a big thing, and it seems like they died down for a while. Now I think they're making a comeback. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I've been best friends with an AC/DC tribute band called Back in Black. They started like way back. They're from Massachusetts. I mean, they were one of the first tribute bands that I knew of from back in that day. And they're still going strong. So I like tribute bands. I'm a huge AC/DC fan. First off, so any AC/DC tribute band to me is really cool. But I think it's a great thing, you know. And some of it, there's two different versions, you know, a couple different ways you can look at tribute band. There's some tribute bands that really go for the entire look, you know, like they try to dress exactly like them. Now, if you're doing like a Kiss tribute band, it kind of makes sense. You got to wear the makeup and the whole, you know, the whole works. But you know, some of the other things that you're doing, like if you do a Def Leppard or what we're doing, that's another reason I didn't want to do just Deep Purple. I wanted to make it where I didn't have to like get into that, you know, that sort of thing where you have to look like the guys and everything. I mean, look, I'm 64 years old. I'm not about to dress up like somebody else at this age, you know.
You already have the rock star look, so it doesn't matter.
I got my own long hair and everything. I'm not going to put a wig on and all that other stuff, you know.
There is one tribute band I love. They're called Van Halen Unchained. They're
great. We play with them.
Yeah, they have the look down. They have the moves down. They have the in between banter down. So yeah, I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. Another one is Riders on the Storm. Basically, they've been around forever too. I remember them. I interned at WHCN years ago with Litch. I know you know him, the legendary little guy. Yeah, so I interned with him, and I remember they used to come up to the studio. This was back in '91. And they're still playing, and he still has that Jim Morrison.
I'm really good friends with Eamon, the singer. Right? His sister lives right around the corner from me, actually. Yeah.
So I agree. I love tribute bands because instead of paying $200, $250 to see a band at Mohegan Sun that has maybe one original member in there, you could see a tribute band of these musicians who love the music, and you're seeing them at their best, in their prime. So I love paying $10, $15, hearing the music sounds just like them, instead of seeing, oh, they're playing Mohegan Sun. Yeah, but there's only one original member in there, and they sound good, but I am a big fan of tribute bands myself, and I love that you're doing that. But not only, you never rest on your laurels. You've done this your whole career. How many bands are you in now, besides Beyond Purple?
Well, actually, I've trimmed it down since I got an autograph. Ever since joining them, I trimmed down, you know, what I'm doing. I was doing like a lot of different projects, but I thought, you know, once I got in that band, and I'm doing a lot more, higher profile shows, because we do a lot of, we're with a really big agent, Sullivan Big Time Entertainment, and he handles, Slaughter, Vixen, Vince Neil, Queensryche, Striper, Great White, all the bands that were from that era. He handles a lot of them, and we do shows together all the time. Kicks, we always play with Kicks. They're a great band. So I thought it'd be good just to narrow down what I do performance wise. Now, like Beyond Purple, for example, we just signed with a big agency called Blue Raven. They handle all tribute acts. So now Beyond Purple is doing bigger shows, like playing theaters, as opposed to, we were playing clubs like that. When you saw us at Maxx, that's one of the only Connecticut shows that we've done, because Blue Raven is, they're getting us a lot more money now, because we're playing bigger places. And so we just gave the ball to them and letting them roll with it.
Right now it's Autograph, Beyond Purple. Are you still with
And
House of Lords?
Yes, I am. I am doing the new record with them right now. It's almost done. This will be my 9th studio record. I did tell James that if it's possible, here's the problem with, it's not a problem. The situation that I have is that Autograph gets dates out of the clear blue sometimes, like the agent will call, like one time he called 2 days before, somebody had canceled, or you guys want to play. So, and we were available. So I'm always kind of ready, but Autograph schedule can get pretty hectic. As a matter of fact, I feel bad. I had to cancel a couple Beyond Purple dates, because even though we had them booked, the guys know, though, they know that my Autograph dates are priority. So even if I have a date already booked, I have to, I would take the Autograph date. But they're very cool about it. So I had to tell James from House of Lords that I would do a tour with him if I could make it happen, because here's House of Lords only performs in Europe. So usually when we, I've played everywhere in Europe with House of Lords. I mean, even Japan, all over Europe. So if a tour comes up, it's, I'm usually over there for a few weeks, and I don't know if I could possibly swing that, taking 3 weeks away from Autograph. I got a really good thing going with Autograph. House of Lords only really tours like maybe once a year, and it didn't even do that last year or the year before. So I've got a really good thing going right now, and I love being with the band. We got a new record. We just got signed to a new record deal. It's coming out on Frontiers, and the record's done. In fact, they're doing the mix down now. All the tracks, I just found out all the tracks have been recorded. So, I don't want to take a chance. I want to.
You could be like Brian Wilson in the Beach Boys. At one point, he just wrote the music and sent somebody else on tour to play because he didn't like touring. So you could have somebody, you could write some of the songs or all the songs and say, okay, I'll see you when you come back, and then go on tour with Autograph. The best of both worlds. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's funny? Doing my research on you, because I look at you play. First of all, I'm amazed that you're self-taught. That's one thing. But originally, you did not start off as a guitarist. What did you originally start off as?
Well, I got a list.
I have the time, so go ahead.
Yeah. I believe it or not, my first instrument, I always, when I was a kid, I had toy guitars and toy drums. I leaned a little bit more towards the drums, but I had, and being left-handed is a nightmare for guitars. So even I have a pictures of me at when I was 5 years old, holding a toy guitar. I'm holding it left-handed, and but I kind of lead towards the drums. But in school, when I started in band around second grade, I started playing the stand-up bass, the big boom, 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 that thing. Yeah. So I played that all the way through high school. I tried. I took a year of trumpet lessons. I took a little bit of keyboard. Never really adapted to that too well. Although I wish I had stuck with the keyboard. That's one thing I wish I did. The thing about the bass, I could never really get really good on it because I didn't realize that I was left-handed. Now I knew I wrote left-handed and I did a lot of things left-handed, but when I played the bass, it just didn't click that. When I play guitar, my fret hand is this hand. When I was playing the bass, I was going boom, boom, and my dexterity was never that good. And I'm going, why can't I get? It didn't even occur to me that, well, geez, I hold the guitar left-handed. Maybe I have to restring this big stand-up bass and play it like this, go boom, boom, boom. But it just never occurred to me back then. So I played that for a while, and I started really getting into drums. So I took up the drums, and I instantly got pretty good on it. I took drums from the Hartford Conservatory of Music, and the drum teacher there was in the Hartford Symphony Orchestra, and I was a rudiment drummer. Like I did a lot of paradiddles and flam taps and single stroke, that type stuff. And I always kept bugging them, I want to be on a drum set. I want to get on a drum set, but they had their certain things, it's all snare drum, vibraphones, marimbas, things like that. And finally, I got a drum set. I was playing. This is a great story. So I'm big drum fan. I actually met my idol, Gene Krupa. I grew up listening to big band music. Okay. So I grew up, my mom and dad brought me up on big band orchestra, Glenn Miller, Benny Goodman, Tommy Dorsey, Harry James, bands, like that. And I was a big fan of Gene Krupa. Benny Goodman had this song called Sing, Sing, Sing. And Gene does this, it's like, it's one of the first recorded drum solos ever, So it was amazing. I wanted to be like Gene Krupa, and I finally got to meet him before he passed away in 1968. So, I'm here, jamming. I was in junior high. I had some high school kids over here. They were playing. And one day the guitar player right here in this basement, in fact, because I had my studio here in my parents' house, the guitar player left his guitar out of the case and just left it leaning against the amplifier. And he had this old 70s Big Muff fuzz. This was in the 70s, like 71 or something. So I had after they left, I took his guitar, turned on his amp, and I turned on that Big Muff fuzz. And of course, I held it left-handed, and I hit this low E string and went bah, like that. I went, I freaked out. I said, "Oh my God, I love this!" And I started, just doing all this stuff with the fuzz box on.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I fell in love with the guitar. I mean, my interest in drums dropped within that 5 seconds I was holding that guitar in my hand. That's how fast it happened. And I knew that night that I had to get a guitar, and that was going to be my destiny. I knew that was where I was going to go. And so my father ended up getting me a guitar. My first guitar was an Ovation acoustic because my uncle worked at Ovation. They restrung it, and I put a pickup in the sound hole, and it was a regular acoustic guitar. So I tried to, I was playing with a fuzz box through a big somebody's amplifier, this acoustic guitar with just a pickup. It was a terror. I mean, a nightmare. It was feeding back all over the place. But I mean, that's where I, started really excelling on the guitar. And then my father ended up getting me a real left-handed guitar and electric, and that was it. So I really, at age 13, I started guitar. But I didn't start too early. I wish I had started like when I was 8 or something. But, once I got the guitar in my hand, it was nonstop practice. I never put the guitar. No one had to tell me to play my guitar or anything like that. The guitar was in my hand from the second I got home from school to the second I went to bed. I would wake up early just to play the guitar before I went to school. I mean, it was like that. Weekends, I didn't care about hanging out with my buddies up the street, getting high or whatever the hell they were doing. You know, I was in my room playing my guitar the entire time, all weekend long. So that's what I loved.
Have you ever had a 9-to-5 job, or have you always been a musician?
I've had a 9-to-5 job a little bit. I worked in music stores for a while, not 9-to-5. You know, I ended up being, you know, pretty good at selling instruments. Like I guess a lot of it had to do with my, you know, because of this happened later in life. This didn't happen early. In my early days throughout the 80s, I was an on-the-road musician playing. That's what I did. Later on, things had changed a little bit. So I you know, tried, you know, I started working in music stores. I was doing pretty good selling wise because I had a good network of people that wanted to buy instruments from me. But, you know, just because of, you know, the name that I had in the area, they would all come and see, you know, oh, let's go see Jimi Bell. You know, I could get a guitar from him. And, you know, I was friends with so many of these people. That's really important to me, with fans and people that come out to see me. I like being friends with them. I'll always talk to them. I always treat people with respect. Someone wants to, you know, if I'm busy doing something and someone wants to say hello or a picture or something, I always do it. I never say, hey, I'm busy right now. Never do that. I always take the time to associate with whoever, you know, comes up to me, even if it's for 5 seconds, because it means the world to them. You know what I'm saying? And that's
I noticed that the one time I met you at Maxx, because you were just getting off stage, you wanted to put your equipment away. Everybody wanted to come up to you and tell you how good you were, and you took the time. So, oh, thank you very much, and this and that. Then you went on with your conversation, did something else. Somebody else would come up to you. So yeah, I did see that firsthand. You are very humble. You're very friendly, and you're right. People do appreciate that because you have a lot of fans out there, and they're like, "Oh my God, I just met Jimi Bell."
Yeah. It's fun. You know, I like. I've always been like that, though. Even back in the 80s, you know, when the bands were, you know, when it was really a whole different music scene back then.
Yeah,
I always, you know, made a time for people, because they're the people that, you know, your fans are the most important things. You know, they really are. Your listeners, the people, because they're the ones that will, you know, when you have a record come out, they'll buy your record. They'll and they, you know, they go and tell other people, word of mouth. Oh, gee, you know, have you seen Jimi play and this? And, you know, it's worked out really well. You know, I know people that are. I know other musicians and stuff that are more arrogant and stuff like that. And believe me, you hear about it. You hear, oh, that guy's an ass, or, you know, whatever, you know, great player, but he's a jerk, and, you know, stuff like that. But
well, I never met him, but one person I can talk about is Richie Blackmore. I've never heard one good story about him at all. Great guitar player, classic, iconic band.
I think Richie's more moody than
okay.
than anything. He's someone that kind of likes to be to himself more than like. Let me tell you something. When I finally got to meet. Deep Purple was doing a tour with Alice Cooper and Edgar Winter a few years back, and I was only supposed to meet. I had a actual pass. My buddy got it to meet Steve Morse, the guitar player that's with Deep Purple, and I always wanted to meet Steve because he's absolutely amazing. But he, you know, it was meant to only meet him, but I saw the other guys happened to make their way into the courtyard. So, you know, Deep Purple being my band for, you know, ever since I was 13, I was like a little school. I was like a little fanboy. I ran up, I go, please, can I get a picture? You know,
Yeah.
it was tough. It was tough to get one with Ian Gillan. He was, you know, he didn't seem like he really wanted to, but he did it anyway. Ian Pace was, you know, a little stand up. Okay. You know, he did it. Roger Glover, though, was totally different. He was really friendly. So it was, you know, but I wanted to do it. I didn't go up and try to get a conversation. I just said, can I please get a quick picture? You know, I think, you know, sometimes they wait for people to try to get into long conversations, and they don't want to do that.
Which, you know, I'm glad you said that, because there's one person, I'm a huge fan of Rush, and Neil Peart always says the same thing. He goes, I can never imagine going up to my idol, wanting to meet them. He goes, I love people, but I'm so shy. I'm so introverted. I really don't like talking to anybody. So Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson are out there talking to everybody. Neil runs right to the bus, goes to his hotel room, and he's not a jerk. It's just that he that's the way he is. He's not even moody. It's more of just, I want to be alone. I'm introverted. I really don't like being around people, but it has nothing to do with them. It's all about me. So I'm glad you said that, because you're more connected with the stories that I hear of, like, oh, Richie Blackmore this or Richie Blackmore that. And I have the utmost respect for his playing. I just went by stories I've heard, and I guess that's not the best thing to do, because I wasn't there. So,
well, you get a guitar player like Yngwie Malmsteen, who's the most amazing player in the world, but he's got a very bad reputation too. People, you got to take the good with the bad. People slam him a lot because, oh, he's this, he's that, but you can't take away from his guitar playing. So it's kind of like, well, you can say what you want about him. Yeah, he might not be the nicest person to you or whatever, but he can certainly play guitar better than most. So
yeah, I love his playing. And it's funny that you mentioned him, because I met Billy Sheehan, and Billy Sheehan, he was talking about David Lee Roth and Yngwie. He said Yngwie is a perfectionist. He gets such a bad rap. He really is a great guy. And he said David Lee Roth, and all he said was, he has his good days and his bad days. I said, so is he a jerk? He has his good days and his bad days. And he goes, I'll leave it at that. So he actually defended Yngwie, and he said Yngwie's just a perfectionist. He's misunderstood, and I personally love his guitar playing. And I know that you played with somebody who's also Connecticut resident, and I want to get him on the show soon, Mike Visser, who also played with Yngwie.
Yeah, I've done a record. Actually, even, I don't know if you were aware of this, but my drummer, the drummer in Beyond Purple there, BJ, and he was in House of Lords with me forever, and now he drums for Doc, and he was with Yngwie. Mike got BJ to play drums for Yngwie for a short period as well. Didn't know that. Wow. Yeah. So BJ played drums on the last House of Lords. On the last date, one of the last shows we did with House of Lords, actually Yngwie's drummer for 14 years ended up joining us. And he was amazing, really incredible drummer. So it's one of those, he always surrounds himself with great musicians. You have to be.
Definitely. I love that. I want to go back a little bit, because I love this story. I want you to talk about your first gig and why you need your parents' permission to play.
Okay. Well, okay, so I started playing out with this band. It's so funny. The band, I still don't know what it's from. The band had a name called Treebeard, and I know someone said it's from Lord of the Rings or something. I'm not quite sure. It's something. It's from a novel, and I believe it's something like that. But so we were young. We were, I was 15. One of the guys was 16. So we were, we had this band, two guitar players, bass and drummer. We had an opportunity to do some gigs. Well, I didn't tell my parents, but the place that we were going to play was a strip club. So they had strippers during the day, and then they had, rock bands at night. And this is during the week. I had to, we would play like on a Tuesday or Wednesday night at this bar. And, I would literally, I'd be in school and, have to, get ready and go play at this thing, and then, get up the next day, go to school. But yeah, so I had to get a note saying it was okay for me to play this club, but I never told them it was strippers, but that was my first interaction with, female dancers, doing their side of entertainment. It was pretty wild. I was like, you got to remember, I'm a kid still, I'm going like, oh, wow.
I love rock and roll. This is great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I said that. I could tell you a story, but I don't, because I'm married now and stuff. But it was just funny. This girl, it was just like, after I was, hanging out with her, I said, I'm just thinking to myself, I'm going like, oh my God, if this is what, playing music is about, I want to do rock and roll the rest of my life.
Oh, I love it. It's a great introduction to rock and roll.
It is. I mean, it's, sure is.
Well, let's move ahead a few years to the band that put you on the map, Join Forces.
Yeah. Well, Joint Forces was a great band. I had two versions of Joint Forces. I was living up in Montreal. I had this band called Teaser up in Montreal. I had a production deal with this Canadian producer that worked with Emerson, Lake and Palmer. He took us on. We recorded his studio, and we were gonna, he was bringing us back and forth, bringing our tapes back and forth to this guy in New York. Typical story, we're sitting there, and he goes to New York, brings our tape. The people at I forgot what record company it was. The guy says, you're going to be the next Led Zeppelin. We were, a lead singer, and then guitar, bass, and drums. You guys are going to be the next Led Zeppelin. This is amazing. This and that. The whole BS that goes along with everything. So I literally remember, like, it had to be like 27 times that this guy said the record deal was signed. The deal's being signed. And then finally nothing happened. Typical bullshit. And I didn't know if I could say that.
It's the Claw's Corner is uncensored, so say whatever you want.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I forget. Sometimes I forget to ask that. I don't swear a lot anyway, but so yeah, it was a situation like that, and I felt it kind of put me down. So I had come back to Connecticut, and I got approached by these guys, and they said, "Hey, you want to do this? We're putting together this band called Join Forces. It's a couple of guys from Crier and this and that. We're all joining together. That's why we're calling it Join Forces." So we came out. We did covers. We did it for 1 year, and the band was huge for 1 year. The cover band version. Then the singer, Mark Diamond, decided he had an opportunity to go to California, try to do something. So the band lasted 1 year. He went to California. We got another singer that I worked with. We took the singer that I worked with in Canada. He came down, and he joined the band, and we changed the name. I had built up a reputation within that year, from like the 81 to that whole year. That's when a lot of my how can I say it without sounding weird? That's when a lot of people discovered me, because I was shredding on guitar back then before people even knew what shredding guitar was. For example, like back then in that version of that band, there was a guitar player that's like famous that used to come out and see me. He's known as one of the greatest shredders there is. His name is Chris Impellitteri. And Chris saw me play. He's from Connecticut, and I changed the guy's life. So basically, I was doing all this stuff on guitar that people weren't doing yet, or they might have been doing it, but it wasn't brought to the forefront too much yet. So Chris ended up changing his whole style of guitar playing once he saw me play. He wanted to be a real fast player, and he ended up being amazing. So but yeah, so that's from that point on. We did the band. They wanted to use my name in a band. I hate having my name in a band. I just do. I'm not one to have, I never had a band called Jimi Bell or anything like that. Regardless, I don't like it. But they used the name Bell Attack. They took the name Bell and put Attack after it, Bell Attack. And that went on for a while. It was very popular. But with Bell Attack, we started doing some original music. So we started doing originals and some covers. So all of a sudden, Mark Diamond, our original singer, is coming back. Well, okay, so we showcased in New York for Lieber and Krebs, big agency out in New York. They loved the band, but they were kind of iffy on the singer, because even though Dana was an amazing singer, he was good, very good looking, but he didn't have the pretty boy look. Now you're talking 82, 83. The bands like were coming in, like all the singers were looking like chicks, yes. All bleach blonde, the makeup, as pretty as you could get, Motley Crue, you already had David Lee Roth. So it started to evolve to that. So Mark Diamond ends up coming back from California, and we get him back in the band, and he had the look. He had the blonde hair and everything. So we decided we're gonna come out and do nothing but original music. Where no band in Connecticut has done this yet. Everybody did a combination of originals and covers, but we said, the hell with it. We're gonna take a chance. So we came out and did all original music. And, we weren't sure how it was going to go over, but it went over huge. Like we were packing places everywhere. And back then, we had a venue in West Hartford called the Agora Ballroom.
Love that place. I used to go there all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, we would play to 400 or 500 people at any given weekend night. Even, I remember 1,000 people coming to see it. So that's what the venue, that's what it was like. Every time we played anywhere, it was jam packed. So we ended up catching the ear or the eye of someone from Joan Jett's management. He contacts us and goes, I work for Jetlag, Joan Jett's management company. He says, but I'm gonna I'm starting another management on my own. I'd like to take you guys on. He had a partner. His partner was owned a tour bus company. So we sign on with him. And here's a weird story. I'll tell you this real quick. This breaks it from these. I've had a lot of weird opportunities happen. Right as I signed on with this management company, I got a call from Alcatraz. The band Alcatraz.
Oh yeah, I know them.
I got a call from the keyboard player, Jimmy. I believe it was Jimmy Waldo. I think that was his name. And Yngwie had just quit the band. They had Yngwie, and that you started to hear about Yngwie during this time.
Yeah.
A matter of fact, I used to get phone calls saying, "Is that you playing in the band?" People thought I was playing, even though I don't play anything like Yngwie. But people thought that was me because it was fast, So I had to turn it down because I just put my name on a contract with this thing. So anyways, we go off. The guy gets us a tour bus, and Joan Jett has an East Coast tour she's doing. So they all we had was a 3-song cassette. They put us on tour with Joan Jett. It was amazing. Here we are in our early 20s. And I'm out on tour. We didn't make any money. We made $10 a day to eat, but we didn't care. We were kids. We had our own big tour bus. Yeah. We're out on the road, meeting all these people. It was just amazing. And Joan's band, all we got along with the crew, the band, everybody. They rode on our bus. just to leave Joan alone. They all came out. Our bus was the party bus, so they all came, because we were going to the same destination. Pretty cool. But I got to tell you, Joan Jett was the sweetest person in the world to me. Yeah. Because she treated me extremely well. I was the only one that she actually took time with and chatted with. I actually have a very nice photo of her and I together. She didn't take a photo with anybody else in the band, but her and I have a great photo of us from back in the 80s. And I always had so much respect and love for her. And even after all that, after a movie and all that, every time I went and saw her, she always was so happy to see me. I saw her a few years back. And I hadn't seen her in many years. I just gave her a quick refreshing who I was. And then, as she was done with the line, the greet line, she goes, "It's great to see you again, Jimmy." That made me feel good because I wasn't sure if she even remembered exactly who I was. But anyways, So we're out on tour ends. We get an opportunity. We get a phone call saying, hey, Joan's going to be in a movie with Michael J. Fox. The movie's going to be called Light of Day. They're brother and sister. They're a music team, and they need a rock band for the movie. We need to send in your photos. So we sent in the photos, and we had to look. So we got the part instantly. So, I mean, you can only imagine what's going through our minds. Here we are, this band, we're going to be in a national motion picture, that just doesn't happen. So we go to Chicago, and we go to the Limelight. That's what that was the night before the shooting. So we go to the Limelight. Michael J. Fox is there. We meet him, and I'll never forget this. It's so strange. He was a little, he was having a good time, having a few drinks and being buzzed a little bit. But the he was getting annoyed, not annoyed, but he was getting bugged a lot. People were bothering him. He was in one of those off rooms that the Limelight has, just a separate sitting room, but people kept coming in and staring, it was like one of those things. So back then I had a striking resemblance to Nikki Sixx, especially because my hair was spiked out, and even my face. Yeah, even my face kind of resembled. I was told that many times. I didn't have facial hair and stuff, but so the promotion manager asked me to go in the room and sit on the opposite end of the couch for a while, so that people would come in and stare at me instead of Michael.
That's funny.
Yeah, I was like, I can't even believe this. And then we're walking around the place, and Mark Franco, this girl comes up and talking to me and Mark. This really hot chick. She's talking to me and Mark, and then we didn't know who she was, and all of a sudden she walks away, and then Mark puts two and two together. It was this porn star named Seika. So we start running around the club looking for her at that point, because we remembered who she was. A bunch of idiots. We were idiots.
We're having a good time. That's all that matters.
Yeah, we're having a good time. So we go to the movie set. You have to be on the movie set at 4 a.m. And it's really different. They made us. They want us to look kind of like a Kiss type band. I was always pale white anyway, except for now I like to be out in the sun, but I never used to like the sun. So they actually put made me even whiter, a white pancake type stuff all over my face. Made me look, had that, trying to make kind of like a Kiss type band, a lot of heavy makeup type thing. And we got the part. We were called the Huns in the movie. So we did all that, and we filmed our scene. I'll never forget it. We did. They had the record plant mobile truck parked outside a club. We recorded the song "Rabbit's Got the Gun," and we recorded it about 8 or 9 times live on the stage, and then we took a break. The record plant listened to all the takes, the producer and everything. They picked which one they wanted, which performance. Then they let all the extras in. They put this thing out. Hey, you want to be an extra in a movie? All of a sudden, this club fills up with all these people, insane. So they're directed what to do. We had people stage diving. People just going. And what was weird is that things were very different back then. No in-ear monitors or pre-tape things. We played that song live, so they had to play it back over a big PA system and the floor monitors. So I had to kind of listen to what was going on and try to mimic what I did, because I never played the same solo twice. So I was trying to listen to where my hands were going. So that was kind of tricky, because I didn't want to be down here, and then the movie, in the soundtrack, you hear me playing up here, or vice versa. I wanted to try to make it look like I was matching everything. But I did it, and it was great experience. So I'll never forget that, being in a movie set. It was just really, really cool. Michael was incredible. I sat and ate lunch with him. We talked guitars, because he really played guitar in that movie. So, he was very interested in what I was doing, and, just great. And once again, Joan just treated us like gold. Wonderful
I'm
person.
angry. I was going to say I'm angry because I love the Runaways, and I met Lita Ford. I met Cherie Curry. I never met Joan. She played at this place. It's not called this anymore. It's called the Bourbon Street or Bristol 10 Pin in Bristol. I know she played there. She played in Waterbury. She was so close to where I live in Connecticut, and I never had a chance to see her, but I've always been a fan of her music, and she always seems like such a down-to-earth, nice person, very talented. But with that movie, I was impressed because I rewatched it again for this interview. I didn't realize besides Michael J. Fox, besides Joan Jett, had Michael McKean. It had a young Trent Reznor in the movie. He played in one of the other bands. So there was a lot of people, and I was impressed too because I didn't realize until recently that Michael J. Fox actually played the guitar, because I know, unlike Back to the Future where he didn't play guitar.
Right, he played in the Bar Busters, I guess they were called.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, so as far as what experience doing something like that, I would gladly do that again if I had the opportunity.
So at that point, you're in Joint Forces, you're going on tour with Joan Jett, you're in a big premiere, big movie. What can possibly go wrong?
Yeah, what goes wrong? Our manager just decides he doesn't want to do anything, and he wants to go and be Joan Jett's road manager. That's what went wrong. It was like, are you kidding? It was like he has this opportunity to take this band and really do something with it, and he just dropped the ball. I mean, I can't tell you how many. Well, when you get further into my life, there's even more of this stuff.
We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah. I can't even tell you how many times this type of stuff has happened throughout my life, and it's, you either take it, you either lay down and quit, or you just take the hit, and then you get back up and you keep going. So many things, like I said, have happened like this, and I used to give myself a time frame. I used to give myself, well, if I'm not successful by the time I'm 25, I'll try to do something else. So then I went to 30, and then 35, and then then I said, well, I mean, obviously, if something doesn't break here by the time I'm 40, I'm gonna have to do, so 40 came, 40 went, and then 50 came, and now look, I mean, I didn't even get into autograph till 3 years ago, and I'm 64 years old. This is what I'm saying. You just never know when these opportunities come. I mean, if I had stopped, first off, I can't stop. I don't know how to do anything else other than play guitar. I really don't. I don't have any other skills. I'm not even good. I'm not good with computers or anything. Me just getting my recording studio here. Thank God I had some really good friends to help me get this, because I never needed a recording studio until recently, till over the last few months, because I did everything at BJ's house. I never needed my own recording studio. Never did. Now I just get this recording studio at the end of November. On Black Friday, I bought the program and everything. I've already recorded about 80 songs for different projects on this thing. Oh yeah. I've always written songs. I just didn't have the means to put them up, and I just never bothered doing it. But now I'm here all the time, sitting here working constantly.
How do your bands record now? Do they actually record in the studio all at the same time, or is it you record your part, the singer records his part, and then you send it in?
I haven't done a record with a full band in the studio since maybe 1991 or something, with the second version of Joint Forces. That might have been one of the last times. I've done some things in the studio, but even then, never a full band. No, that was probably the last time I've recorded full band in a studio. Usually I'm doing, either doing tracks like for the WWE or, individual things like that.
The reason I asked, because I know there's another Connecticut band, Fates Warning, and I was listening to an interview with them, and they live all over the place. So Ray Alder will record his part, Jim Matheos will record his part, the drummer will record his part, then they all send it in and they have a mixer put it together. They said they don't, just like you just said, they don't remember the last time they were all in the studio together recording.
Yeah, every House of Lords record that I did when I joined the band in 2005 has all been over the thing. Basically what happens when recording goes on, I'll write a song. I'll give you example. I'll talk about the House of Lords stuff. I would write a complete song. No vocal, no lyrics or anything, just all music. Then I would sit down with BJ. I'd play him the song before we hit the record button, and he would say, yeah, I like that. Or he'd say, let's move this part, let's extend this, or let's do something, So basically I come with a foundation. I always write a complete, verse, bridge, chorus, solo section. And then I always get input from, the other musicians. I'll give them a foundation to work with, and then let them, either say, hey, that's great, or no, it's no good, or, let's move this, let's do that. So that's how I did all the House of Lords stuff. Then I'd record a whole song, two rhythm tracks, sometimes a third, lead. I even put bass on it for the demos. And then BJ would set up a drum beat for me, just a computer drum beat along with the click track, just so I have a beat to play to, which is exactly what I do here now. And then he would play drums after I left, play the drums to it. We'd send it down to James, and that's when the lyrics and everything would start, if he liked the song. So we did, I'm on my 9th record with House of Lords, and they've all been like that. So
it doesn't sound like you ever have a problem with writer's block.
I've written it. See, here's the thing. I wasn't in too many cover bands. Like I've always kind of like wrote songs. I was into writing songs even in my early days. But it was a good thing that joined forces. For example, we chose to be an original band because that's how I got my feet wet, like that early in the 80s, of just writing songs. I didn't do a lot of cover bands. Matter of fact, my cover band thing didn't happen until like in the 90s later on. And then, believe it or not, mentally in my mind, when I had to join a cover band, I thought my life was over. I really did. I did. I mean, that was my mindset. It was like, I can't believe that I'm playing cover songs. I have to go out and play cover songs to make some money. This is terrible. My life is over. That's what I thought, because I had to play other people's music. Yeah.
Well, what I respect about you is, we were talking about this a little bit, is your tenacity. There are so many times you came so close and then it all falls through. I want to get into that now. You already mentioned one about the time in Canada. You're the next Led Zeppelin. That fell through. Now, let's talk about right now. Ozzy's looking for a new guitar player. It's you and Jack Wild.
Yeah.
Take it away. What happened next?
Well, here's the thing. They kind of, I was with Kramer Guitars. I ended up getting an endorsement while out on the road with Joan Jett from the biggest guitar company there was. I didn't even have a record deal, and the Kramer Guitars, the president, actually Floyd Rose, the guy that invented the Floyd Rose tremolo, saw me play. He loved the way I played guitar. So he got me a full endorsement from Kramer Guitars, and I didn't even have a record deal. But so I had that, and they were going to do this. Kramer Guitars decided they were going to manage me. That's how much they liked what I was doing. So, and I don't need to tell you that, their big guy was Eddie Van Halen. That was Kramer, Eddie Van Halen. So this is when that was all going on.
That's really
so
impressive.
I would go to,
you didn't even have a record deal at all. So
I
you
had no
were,
record deal. I was with Joint Forces still. They would fly joint. They flew the whole band to California, played a big NAMM show. We played with Eddie and all these other Ted Nugent, all these other famous people at the jams. And that happened a couple times. And then, they took me on as a management, and I guess Jakey Lee, I don't know what happened, but he was leaving Ozzy, or they were getting rid of him, or whatever. They already started working with Zach a little bit. Mark Weiss, the photographer, had hooked them up. The famous photographer knew Zach, and kind of hooked up that whole deal. So, but they sent my tape out, and Sharon Osbourne saw it. So the next thing I know, I get a phone call from Kramer, and they said, Jimmy, Sharon Osbourne loves your tape. You have to go to California. You're going to audition for Ozzy. This is a Wednesday. Okay. A Wednesday morning. And I said, I'm all freaked out. I go, okay, so when am I going, next week? They go, no, today. Your plane is booked. You have to leave today. It was like, boom, 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 that fast. I had to be on it. And so I flew there. Ozzy's guy picks me up, his road guy. And I go to a hotel, cram as many songs as I knew some already because I played them in the early version of Joint Forces. So I just brushed up on them. I guess there were like about 500 guitar players that had, auditioned, but obviously Ozzy wasn't there for that. They had to do it all with Randy and Phil, the bass player and drummer. So we did that. I went and played with them. And while I was doing my audition, Sharon Osbourne sat there. She actually wanted to see if what she saw was on the tape, what she spent her money on a plane ticket for was actually, worth having me out. So I did it, and I nailed it really good with them. So she says to me, well, we're going to bring you to another studio tomorrow, and you're going to play with Ozzy. So, so I go to this studio, and I go up on stage, and okay, hold on. I'll tell you. Let me go back just one. There was this other guitar player from Sweden. I don't know who he was at all. I'm not even sure. I never got his name. He somehow got to do an audition. So he's up on stage. Wildest thing. I'm watching him, and they're doing Flying High again. And the part in Flying High that Randy would do when it's going, the descending tapping riff. Well, this guy being from Sweden and Yngwie being the big Swedish guitar player, he wanted to try something different with that section. So he tried sweeping arpeggios through it, like, well, Ozzy lost it. Ozzy was standing behind him, making like pretending he was stabbing him, and then he went like this, making like he was choking him.
Oh my God!
I'll never forget this. I'm sitting watching this, and then the kid kind of turned around, and Ozzy gave him a thumbs up, like, "Hey, you're doing a great job."
That is hilarious.
Yeah, it was like, I'm going like, oh my God. So the kid gets done. He's out of the room. I go up, and I set the amp up, and we do my first song is I Don't Know. And I was really on. So I did it and played. And as soon as I started playing, and the band kicked in, Ozzy started doing that thing where he holds the mic and goes like this. He was rocking with that. And then when I did the solo, he got right down in front of the amp and was listening to me play. And so I did about 4 songs. I had to do a guitar solo, just, shred by myself. And when I got done playing, they sat down with me, and Sharon said, well, it's between you and Zach. That was it. They took me out to dinner. I went to Ozzy's suite. They brought me over there, and I met the oldest daughter that wasn't in the Osbourne show, Amy. And Amy's sitting on Ozzy's lap. She was just a baby. And watching MTV, all of a sudden, Paranoid comes on, Black Sabbath. And Ozzy's going, look, Amy, there's Daddy. Bouncing around his leg. I'll never forget it. So funny. But yeah, so it was great. They took me out to dinner. And I think afterwards I went to the Troubadour or something like that with Randy and Phil for a little bit. Flew home the next day. And then, of course, I found out they ended up sticking with Zach. Now, granted, Zach was younger than me. But Zach had more of that Randy Rhoads look like that. Yeah, I mean, Zach he didn't look like back then the way he looks now. He didn't,
Yeah, no, I know.
He doesn't look like a Viking. He didn't look like a Viking back then. he looked like, he was a really clean cut, and he played the Les Paul and everything. Somebody said to me, they go, Jimmy, maybe you didn't get it because you're left-handed and Tony Iommi was left-handed. And I, that's kind of far-fetched, but you never know.
You never know. You never know.
It could be something as kooky as that, But anyways,
wasn't there a point where Zach even said, I probably didn't make the band? There's this guy named Jimi Bell. He's probably going to be.
Yeah, he did. I actually met Zach. We jammed together. Okay. And he came to my door in the hotel. He came to my door, and knock comes on my door. I open the door. It's Zach. He was holding a couple Coca-Colas, one for me and him. And he says, hey, you want to jam? He just wanted to see what I played like. And of course I was already, I was all warmed up playing, having a really good, a good few days. So he brought this Rockman down, this Schultz Rockman, and we both had headphones, and I was ripping all over the guitar. And I know I impressed him because after he got the gig, he did a clinic out in California, and a girl I know was at it. And Zach said this at the clinic, goes, I thought there was this guitar player named Jimi Bell that auditioned, and I didn't think I had the gig after I heard him play. He actually said that, which was really cool of him, but anyways, so I go home. You're talking about a real heartbreaking situation, yet that could have changed my life, that gig. I mean, that was huge. Whether my life would have been for the better, that was the 80s. I was partying back then. I mean, so who knows really what my outcome would have been. The man upstairs is the one in charge. He tells you he's in charge of what goes on with your life and when you're supposed to get it, when things are supposed to happen. But it was a great experience. So I actually came back to nothing because Joint Forces had found out that I was out in LA auditioning for Ozzy. I didn't tell them because I was only supposed to be out there one day, and they got pissed. The band broke up, and that was the end of that band. So I come home, and I didn't even have Joint Forces to go back to.
But I'm sure if any of the other members had that kind of opportunity, they would have jumped at it in a second. So,
of course.
I can't believe.
Yeah, of course they would.
Speaking of that, really quickly, I have to say the drummer of Joint Forces, I like his new band, Spirit Shaker. I see them all the time. They're a great band.
Joey, yeah.
But it's a shame though. But something did happen that was positive from that experience. Yeah. You might be the only person I know. I've had Carmine Appice on the show and some other people that know Sharon Osbourne. Nobody's ever had a nice word to say about her. You, on the other hand, Jimi Bell, have something nice to say about her because she actually did something for you. She sent your tape to Geezer Butler.
Yes, she liked my tape so much that Geezer was looking to put together a new band. She gave him my tape, and I'm just, I'm sitting in a home in Southington, Connecticut, where I was hanging out at the time. I get a phone call. There's this English cat on the phone. And then he introduces himself as Terrence Butler, Geezer Butler. And I'm going like, I'm like, I didn't even know what to say, because, Geezer was absolutely one of my most favorite bass players, Sabbath, he was the whole thunder behind Black Sabbath, that the way he plays bass. He told me what he was doing, asked me if I was interested. Of course, I said, absolutely. So he flew me to St. Louis. He had a home there. I'm not sure. Maybe his wife, Gloria, had family there or something, but he had a home in St. Louis. I went there. So it was kind of a odd situation. Not like Ozzy, like when I got picked up in LA, it was, Ozzy's guy, that does everything for him. So I fly to St. Louis and I get off the plane, and there's Geezer standing there to pick me up. I wasn't expecting that. I just, this guy's a rock god. I'm not expecting him to be here picking me up at the airport, he says, you want to go have a beer? So, right, we didn't even leave the airport. We start drinking in the airport. He brings me to his house, gold, platinum records all over the place. And we're jamming, playing a little keyboard thing. So, yeah, I worked a little bit with him there. He flew me home, and then he goes to England and gets in touch with me, and they fly me to England. That was my first overseas trip. So I went to his house in England. They put me up in this beautiful hotel. Gave me, a weekly salary, something that you just never hear of anymore. A weekly salary to rehearse, a daily per diem to eat with. It was, a whole different scene back then. So it was great. So we rehearsed. This is great. We rehearsed, did a showcase. We showcased. And there were a bunch of labels there. We get signed. I believe it was, I want to say it's MCA Records. I could be wrong on that. So I go home. We're going to be doing a record. We're signed. I get a call. Of course, I get a phone call from Gloria. She goes, Jimmy, I have bad news. She goes, the person that signed you, I don't know if he got caught embezzling money or did something. He got fired. All the bands he signed got fired. So that went right out the window. So there goes that. A few months later.
Wait, sorry to interrupt you. I was saying, with his name, though, don't you think it'd be easy for him to get another label?
Well, yes, but I think the whole thing, I think what was going on is, like, at that time, a little bit of time had passed. And I think what was going to happen is that he joined up with Ozzy for a tour to play bass with him. Okay. But I think what the next step would happen is that they decided. I get another phone call from Gloria, Geezer's wife, and she says, Jimmy, I have good news. That's good, because I could use some good news. Black Sabbath is getting back together with Ronnie Dio. I'm sure you heard, and I did hear that. And she goes, we're going to use your song, because I wrote a song called Master of Insanity. We're going to use your song, Master of Insanity. And I'm going, oh, this is fantastic. I'm so excited. She goes, but there's one issue. Of course there's an issue. Always an issue. She goes, we can't give you songwriting credit for the song because Tony Iommi will never let a song from another guitar player on a Black Sabbath record. So it has to be said that Geezer wrote the song. It's like another nightmare. Just incredible.
From the frenetic mind of author Rich Sear. 5 terrifying short stories, now available in one collection. Confessions of a Frenetic Mind. 5 tales of blood-curdling terror. Available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
We are back.
And I'm
Guitar
back.
legend Jimi Bell.
Sorry.
No problem. So as you were saying, you were talking about Geezer Butler. Gloria called you again. The song Masters of Insanity, which was written by you. Tony doesn't
All
like
of it.
other songs.
Yeah.
Now, what happened after that?
Well, you know, it's weird. So I get, okay. So I wrote the song, everything. I came up with the title for the song. In fact, I had the title was swimming around in my head. That's something I never do usually, is come up with a title. So I actually had that title, Master of Insanity. Geezer wrote lyrics off of that title.
Yeah.
And they recorded the song identical to the way I wrote it, with the exception they added a little something in the solo section, just to change one little thing. So Gloria says to me, she goes, look, Jesus going to put your name in his special thanks. And when the tour is over, we're going to pay you for the song. So the record comes out. My song gets mentioned. This is on the Dehumanizer record. My song gets mentioned as one of the better tracks on there, you know, and a lot of the reviews. They obviously liked my song enough that it was played live. It was in their live set. So it wasn't just a filler, you know. So I go see him a couple times, and I'm just sitting there in the audience watching Ronnie James Dio sing a song that I wrote. I'm just like going, I don't believe this, you know. The tour ends, nothing. Not even like, that was, you know, nothing. No money. I wasn't expecting it anyway. I really wasn't.
Thank you would have been nice.
Well, yeah, but you know what though? It was at the point where I've had so many, at that point, you saw how many things have gone on throughout my career already.
Yeah.
I had so many things like this happen that I just knew I wasn't going to get paid for it. So I, you know, years and years, you know, things go on. I've done, I do a few things. I go off to Germany with this band Thunderhead. They're from Germany, and we go off and tour with Metal Church. So while I'm out on tour with Metal Church, the lead singer, the original lead singer, David Wayne, comes out and watches me play every time that we played. He's sitting and listening to me. And we had one of those double-decker tour buses that they have in Europe a lot. So I'm upstairs practicing the second level, and he comes up and goes, I'm only doing this one tour with them. I'm putting together a solo project. I want you to play guitar for me. He says, are you interested? And I said, yes. So after that tour, I started really writing for the David Wayne Metal Church record. So there's a solo record called David Wayne's Metal Church. And I worked with BJ on that. We went to LA, recorded the whole record, boom, boom, came out on Nuclear Blast, did that. And shortly after, David had passed away, which is a sad thing. He was really a wonderful person. And then, of course, you were talking about Mike Thassara. I ended up doing his MVP record. Me and BJ, I wrote about 7, maybe 5 songs. Oh, yeah, I wrote 5 songs for that record and played on 9. And then I did an additional 3 for him on something else that he did. And then that kind of brings me up to speed where in 2005, I get the phone call from James Christian about House of Lords. And the funny story with that is he says to me, Jimmy, he goes, I have a new record deal with Frontiers, and but they want to kind of create the older style House of Lords. He says, have you ever written melodic rock? A melodic rock song? And I didn't even know what he was talking about, but I said, yes. I said, of course I have.
Do that.
I do it all the time. So, you know, I sent him some stuff, and it ended up being what he was looking for anyway.
Good.
One
Well,
other thing,
I
though.
want to go back. I want to go back to Black Sabbath for 1 minute because you finally got your due. Tell me how that happened.
Yeah. So finally, I'm throughout my life, I've been written up in many books on Black Sabbath and stuff, and the story. I have great stories when I was in England with Geezer Butler. We went to a castle and stuff, and I had Ozzy's daughter with me, Amy. I had the babysitter for this when we went on this thing. But I met all the interviews that I did were always, I'm telling, saying about the Master of Insanity song. So it was written in a lot of books that I wrote the tune and didn't get credit for it. But finally, I met up with Ronnie Dio one time. He was playing in Hartford at the Webster. And I had an opportunity to go meet him. So I walk up. This is exactly how it happened. I walk up to him, just wonderful gentleman. And I said, "Hi, Ronnie. My name is Jimi Bell." And he goes, "Jimi Bell, Master of Insanity." That's what he said to me. Just like that. I only said my name like for a second. I didn't even tell him. I didn't even have to go into any explanation. And the biggest smile came on my face. And he took me, he was supposed to be doing this thing, have dinner with the Dio band or something, but his band did it. And Ronnie took me into a corner for about a half hour and gave me all of his attention. And we were talking about that whole situation. And he was saying, I told them to just pay you for the song. It wasn't a big deal. I don't know what their problem was. It was, I guess Ronnie was saying he went to bat for me. But anyways, later on, but still, it was me telling people, it's difficult. I'm not a liar, first off. So a lot of people, everybody believed me. But the people that don't know me all that well, they could be saying, "Oh, bullshit, he didn't write that song." Well, sure, finally,
you did.
Yeah, sure you did. Finally, Ronnie says it himself in a book. He did this little caption. It says, he was saying he wrote a lot of the lyrics for Black Sabbath, with the exception of this song, Master of Insanity, which was written by Jimi Bell, guitarist Jimi Bell and Geezer Butler. And he said, and I absolutely love the song. That's what he said.
That's great.
That's all I needed, was that one little paragraph right there, or those couple little sentences to show the world that he knew that I wrote that song.
You know what's funny about Geezer? I heard an interview with him, and he said that he loved playing with Dio more because Dio can write his own lyrics, and Ozzy can never write lyrics. And that's why he loved working with Dio for that part anyway. Yeah. I know they always had their issues, but yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So that's it. I mean, like you had, as you said before, I've heard you say this. And so, I mean, maybe if you're like one of 1,000, but when you're this close so many times, that hurts so much more. But you know what? You always bounce back. That's what's so great about you.
Yeah. Well, what it is like, you just don't give up. I could have thrown in the towel many, many times, and just said, "Oh, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to do this anymore." But it's just one of those situations. I have a love for guitar more than most people do. I still practice. I mean, last few days I've been doing stuff with my wife. She sold her house. The house that we have, she got a really good offer on it. And I have this house here, and my mom's 97. So I have to be here with her most of the time because she can't really be by herself. So we're coming into this house actually. So like when I'm away on tour, Mandy will be able to watch after her and stuff. So, and so it's a great situation. It'll make her feel a lot better having somebody here with her. I have no brothers and sisters. I'm an only child, so I'm the one that has to do this too, as well. So I've been moving doing things and boxing things and everything. I haven't been able to practice the last few days like I normally do. And believe me, I'm losing my mind because playing guitar a lot of hours a day is what I do. I hate when I have to break my routine. I have routine. It's my routine is a lot of hours of practicing, either writing, working on new songs, or recording stuff. So it's it's one of those things. I hate not being able to put the time in when I want to, but I'll get right back on it. Things are almost all straightened out now.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. What did you do to keep busy during the pandemic?
Well, I actually played a couple shows with Autograph. I wrote a lot of songs during that time. And I worked on a whole bunch of, I practiced so much during that time. I was working on some different techniques that I normally don't do. Now, keep in mind, though, during the pandemic, I had just, I just got an Autograph in August of 2019. So there you go. There's another thing. I joined Autograph in July, late July. I start rehearsing them at the beginning of the month, and we have our first show at the end of August. So I do a bunch of shows. We do February, first week of February, we're on the Monsters of Rock cruise of 2020. I'm playing, we do our shows, things are great. Come back, the boat docks, get off, go home. Within a week or two after that, everything is shut down. Right after, and it's a good thing it happened when it did, because because I could have been stuck out at sea, because it ended up being, because there were cruise ships that were stuck out at sea. So yeah, it could have got kind of crazy. But yeah, the whole world shut down after that. So I had only I saw all my dates, to all the 2020 dates just kept getting dropped and postponed. It was like depressing. Had a couple that maintained. So I did get to play a little bit, but I did a lot of writing because I knew I wanted to write new material for Autographs. So I was writing stuff. And this is before I had my studio. So what I would do is, I'd be playing. I had my little practice amp. I'd be playing, and I'd come up with an idea for a song. I take my phone and put it on the voice memo, like the voice thing. Put it down by the amplifier. Play the idea, and then I'd go back and work on it more, and then I'd keep adding to it, just to until I had a complete, sort of a verse bridge course. And then I would send it to the guys, see if they liked it. And, they always said yes. But then we had the opportunity to, really make it happen. I did play a lot, though, in June of 2021, when things picked up again. Beginning in June, I was slammed for the whole summer. Boom. It was great. It really was. It felt so good. We really got a rhythm going with the band, because I barely got my feet wet with them. I did a few shows, and then the pandemic hit. It was like I was still new with them, but once those shows started and we started playing, it was great. I've got to meet some wonderful people that are all part of the same agent, all part of Sullivan's roster. Mark Slaughter is one of them. I love Mark Slaughter. He's just such a wonder. That guy, I'm telling you, is such a great guy to talk with, and he's really down to earth. And he will sit and chat about guitars and gear. Mark's like a really good guitar player. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but he could play guitar. Even though he's more known for his vocals, he's a really good guitarist. So yeah, it's great to get to meet these cats. Really cool.
You know what's also great is these bands that were so popular in the 80s are still relevant and they're still around and they're still rocking and rolling. They're still just as good as they ever were. What was it like for you joining a band that was already established, and what were the fans' reactions to you as the new guitar player?
Well, as you know, Steve Lynch was an icon, there was, stepping in for him, I had to be on my game because first off, Steve's style of playing and my style of playing are totally different. Steve is a tapper. He does a lot of two-handed tapping things. He has books on it. That was how he created a lot of his stuff. That wasn't my thing. It was all in my picking hand. So I'm jumping into an opportunity here, or a situation, I should say, that's very different. They gave me what I loved about Autograph is they gave me all the freedom in the world to change any solo that I wanted to, with the exception of turn up the radio, which I already knew how to play. And it was good because it forced me to do some things. Like I used to only tap with one finger, like my middle finger. But then, I started adding my ring finger and doing a couple of things like Steve does. So he does a lot of, ring tap, or he goes first finger, he could do them all. But, for me, just to add another finger in on the situation, on the fretboard, was worked out really cool for me. So I ended up coming up with a bunch of different things. Anything that's a little new is nice at my age. Anything anything that you could still learn. That's the best thing about guitar. You never stop learning. So I really enjoy it. But now, instead of doing, there was this song like we do Loud and Clear. I like to basically do that solo that Steve did in Loud and Clear. There's this part where it goes better, a climb thing. And I was able to do it with one finger. I was able to, but it was a lot of movement. So once I did it with the two fingers, I was just going, it became a symmetrical climb. But like I said, if I wasn't an Autograph, I probably would have never done that. Another thing that I did that I hadn't done, I had to go back to using guitars with whammy bars. I didn't use a guitar with a whammy bar since the 80s. I gave all that up. Very late 80s, started playing like Les Pauls, and I just gave up. Like by 1990, by 1990 or 1991, I was strictly Les Paul guitars, SGs, and all Gibson style things. Yeah. I got very used to that bridge because the spacing is a bit closer on Gibson guitars. So I developed a lot of my really fast technique on playing like a Gibson SG or a Les Paul bridge because the string spacing. And then when you go to jump to a different guitar, fender spacing is a little bit wider. And even like on the Charvels, when I got them, that spacing was a little bit different too. And that really affected me. It's so minute, but when you're used to hitting a string and it's not right where you're used to hitting it, it throws you off. Even just your movement of your hand going across the fretboard, when those strings are just slightly further apart than what you're used to, it throws your whole game off. So I had to really pick up those guitars, put down anything else, and play nothing but those guitars nonstop. And I still have to. So even like when I practice on these, I don't pick up a guitar that has that old style spacing because I have to play these guitars. I have to stay used to them.
Now, did Autograph confront you or ask you to be part of the band, or did you audition for them and realize that they had an opening and confront or talk to them?
No, well, how it happened? See, I was friends with Steve. I was friends with Steve Lynch, sort of. We met a couple times, and we had a mutual respect for each other. Very much. And by every time Autograph played around, like at Mohegan, I would go see him. And then, I went to dinner with the whole band a couple times. So they kind of knew me. and I got to be friendly with all those guys. So what luck is kind of weird. I saw there was some sort of conflict in the with something that Steve had posted one time. It was a month prior. He posted something, but then it was taken down immediately. There was some sort of little thing, but it was removed instantly. So I saw it. I happened to catch it, but I didn't do anything at that point. I just sat and waited. And then finally, it was a Tuesday. My buddy Todd, who does a lot of work for me, helping out and everything, he calls me real early, because I'm an early riser anyway. He says, "Hey, Steve Lynch announced that he quit Autograph." He goes, "You better make a." So I said, "Okay." I found it on Steve. Steve made a post saying that he left the band. He's starting a solo band, a whole different thing, this and that. I get right on Facebook Messenger and message Randy Rand. I go, "Randy, I know you're probably getting hit up by a million guitar players, but I'd like an opportunity to come and do this." He says, "We have a very short list we're looking at." He says, "But I'm going to add you to the list." So he says, "Why don't I give you 3 songs?" So this was the best thing. I take the 3 songs and I learn them instantly. So I get in touch with Randy. "Randy, send me more. What else can I do?" So they start. So I said, "Send me the whole list." So I ended up taking the time to learn the entire set list. Then, working on that and calling Simon, videotaping with him, going over vocals, so they kind of knew, they saw how enthused I was, or how motivated I was, and how much I really wanted this gig. So I think that really helped the situation. So I get a call from Randy and he goes, "We're just, you know what?" He says, "You're going to play the next 3 shows with us. We'll see how it goes." So I'm going, wow.
Here we go
great.
again.
Yeah, here we go. So they give me the next 3 shows. I practice, like crazy for that. They fly me to LA. I get in the rehearsal room with them. First song, boom. It clicked like I was playing in the band for years. It felt like I had been in the band forever. We got along like I had been in the band forever. And it just sounded like I've been playing with the band. It didn't sound like a first time rehearsal. We were tight because I was very prepared. And when I sang my parts, I knew all my vocal parts. And that was it. One song in, Simon knew. So that night after we got done, Simon makes this big post. It comes out Wednesday morning, because I was there on a Tuesday. It comes out that Wednesday morning, and social media exploded like crazy. That's all that you heard all day. People were sick of seeing it. Seeing my name plastered everywhere. But it was just, the announcement was made. So many people, all the Sleaze Rock, Blabbermouth, all that shreds, everybody grabbed it right away, and it was everywhere. So and it's been wonderful since. Everything. I love working with the guys more than you can imagine. They're my family. We get along extremely well.
Very important.
Yeah, very important. Never, first off, we're all older, so we don't fight at all. We don't argue. We're very open to everybody's ideas. It's, like I said, if I send them a bunch of songs, I'm not, as a matter of fact, the interview I did the other day, someone says, they asked me if I was opposed to people, changing, somebody wanting to do something with my song. I go, no, I've worked with a lot of producers that would take something and move it, take something in a song I did and kind of, take this part, move it around. Everybody has different ears. and if they think that that's what might be best. But basically, you know, these guys didn't change too much of what I gave them. So I get a call from Frontier Records. Frontiers does all these projects. They have a bunch of them, like Black Swan. You know, there are all these bands that they put together. Other artists, you know, Doug Aldridge, Red Beach. You know, they put all these guys together with different people, and they asked me if I wanted to do one, and I said yes. So, you know, they told me what they wanted, and, you know, I started writing about, you know, and what the time frame was. So, you know, I've written a bunch of songs for that. So I just happened to, you know, Autograph came up, obviously, because I'm in the band, and he says, is there anybody from the band still in the band? I said, well, Randy. You know, a lot of people, you know, it's kind of strange. You know, you have your fans. You know, I look at it like this. You know, we talked about this earlier. You have the two types. You have the diehard fans that are so hardcore that they don't accept anybody but the original members, and they don't like anything, and that's it. Then you have the fans that just love the music, that just want to see the band no matter who's, you know, no matter what it is. You know, they want to hear the songs, and that's what it is. So, by the way, your other question that I jumped over was, yes, the fans accepted me, like, really. They're all the fans, and the comments, the love that I got from that very first show that I played with them was better than I could have. Even it was more better than the band anticipated. They didn't know it was going to be like that. So it worked out great. But yeah, so, you know, we love working together. And, you know, he said, I said, well, Randy's still in the band, you know, look, at two of the guys are dead, unfortunately, you know, and passed away. You know, Steve Plunkett had no desire to do anything. Steve Lynch quit. You know, this has been the same lineup with the exception of Steve since 2013. So they're you know, 7-8 years strong now. And their last album that they did, Get Off Your Ass, made Billboard. It charted at Billboard. So, you know, like Frontiers had asked me about it. And I said, well, you know, it'd be great to do a record, you know, on your label. I've been with your label. I've done 8 records on your label already. You know, I'd like to stay with the family if possible with this. And they offered us a deal. And it was just, the guys were so happy, you know, that I had a hand in making this happen. It was, they were very, very grateful. And now we just, we're great. You know, we've written all the songs. Matter of fact, I got a call today. All the songs, all the parts. Randy just left yesterday. Came back home. So he went there. His bass was the last stuff to go on. So all the parts are done. And now it's mix time. So the mixes and the record's got to be turned in by the last week of April.
What do you expect for the release date?
That's hard to say. We have to give them all the artwork as well. That's another thing. We already know what we're using. But, you know, then we got, you know, you got to give them the thing that they can make copies of. They want the booklet. They do all that. But we have to make it up. You know, we have to make up the booklet, and then they'll go forward with it. I'm trying to remember what the release date. They have certain times that they release records. So I would say, you know, a month to 2 months after we turn it in would probably be the release date.
Obviously, with the way music is now, you make most of your money touring.
Oh, yeah. You don't make anything off of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm so happy that finally, after all these years, there's a band, great band, and it's going smoothly so far. Hopefully it stays like this for a long, long time.
I've had it's a great opportunity for me, especially because I love the guys and I love being at Autograph very much. And I love all the wonderful people that I get to meet along the way, you know. So it's I'm looking forward to a good future with them. And of course, with Beyond Purple, I love playing with Beyond Purple, and it's a great second outlet for me. We're very tight family, that band as well. Great guys.
I didn't realize how lucky I was to see you at that small club. I didn't realize that you normally play theaters. So I'm so glad that I was able to see you at Banks.
Yeah, we haven't played. That was the only Connecticut gig we've had in ages, actually. So
perfect timing. So there's another band I want to talk about. I heard your affiliation with them, and I listened to a couple of the recordings. I love it. They're called Lost Symphony.
Yeah, yeah, that is a great thing. Well, Benny Goodman, he's the brainchild. Him and his brother are the brainchild behind this whole thing. It started something with Ollie Hebert, who mysteriously died. Jesus, the band is escaping me. My mind's all over the place. But anyways, he was a great guitar player, and this whole thing started with him, and then this whole project evolved, and all these other guitar players just kept signing on to this, and ended up. I went there and recorded all these tracks with them, and it's just an amazing record. I got 3 records out that I'm on. I'm sharing things with Jeff Loomis and all these other cats. That's just amazing. Really, really is.
I love it. From what I heard, I think you're the only person to be on all 3 records.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to be on all 3. So that's a good thing. I have a list of records that I've played on that's ridiculous throughout my career. Even if it's one song that I played.
You sent me a list. I got dizzy. I had to sit down and look at it, because you're right. The list went on and on and on. I said, oh my God, he's played with everybody. He's done so much.
One of my favorite things that we didn't hit on actually was doing the WWE stuff.
I was getting to that, but let's talk about that now. That was coming up next. WWE and ESPN and NASCAR.
Yeah. So it's just there was this guy that I was playing in Diamondback, one of my local bands, and this guy was bouncing at a club I was playing at. He's listening to me play. He goes, geez, he goes, you would do really good down at my other job. And I said, well, what's your other job? And he says, I worked out at the WWE. And I went like, oh, because I was a wrestling fan, ever since, the early 80s, Hogan, Macho Man. I knew all the wrestlers.
Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, Sergeant Slaughter, George the Animal Steel. Oh my God, all of them. It was so he brings my tape. He says, do you have a tape? Give him a tape. He breaks it down. 2 days after my DVD went down there, I get a phone call from the studio guy, the studio producer, Jim Johnson. He says, can you come down? I want to do something. Next thing I know, I'm down at the WWE. And let me tell you something, walking into that place was, it's not the corporate headquarters. They had a recording studio and TV studio on the other side of the other side of the city. But oh my God, the recording studio had everything you could ever think of. Money. I mean, when you talk about money is not an object, that is what that studio was. Everything. So I did from about 2006. I just found some of my old pay stubs. Actually, I couldn't believe it that I still had them. 2006 to about 2015, and then Jim no longer worked there after that. But I was doing, on and off, going down to WWE a lot between 2007 and 2010. I went down there a real lot.
Where was your music used?
Where was it viewed?
No, used. Like, what did you record for WWE?
Well, I've done so many of the wrestlers. I can't remember, but it it was all used for the wrestler's entrance music.
Okay.
So I would hear it. That was one of the best things. I would go home, I'd record a track. You know, he would call me down on a Monday, and Monday Night Raw is a live show. So he called me down in the early afternoon. I'd have to record. He would have to put the song all together to air on Monday Night Monday Night Raw that night. And even like on SmackDown, I'd have to go down either on a Tuesday, get the whole thing done early so it could be played on SmackDown. I did tag team partners. I did pay-per-view events, diva searches. I did all this, played guitar and all these things. Like I said, countless wrestlers. So to me, that was one of the coolest things, you know, going home and then putting on Monday Night Raw and hearing me play over the speakers. It was like, like knowing that there's millions of people hearing me play guitar right now. Or, and what's even was more thrilling is I used to get free tickets to go to all the events. I'd get really good seats. They'd hook me up. So anytime it was in Hartford or any place close, I'd go. And I'd be sitting there. All of a sudden, I'd hear my guitar come on the loudspeakers, you know, be playing. And it was like unbelievable.
Can't imagine.
Unbelievable.
Well, I mentioned also that you worked with ESPN and NASCAR. What'd you do for them?
Oh, so much stuff. I did, let's see. Oh boy, what was ESPN thing? I did an antique show. It was a car thing. I forgot what they called it. It was an auction. It was like where they auction off expensive vehicles. I played the theme for that. David Spade show. I did something for. Played on a theme for that. Something with football. I did some kind of theme. You know, there's one guy that does all this. He would call me, and you know, I'd go down there.
He approached you?
Yeah, John Colby, his name is. I've known him forever. He lives right in Simsbury. He's you know, he's takes care of the ESPN award show. He's in charge of orchestrating the whole thing. You know, he's been working for ESPN forever. So anytime they needed something like that, it's usually like, you know, like Jim Johnson at the WWE, whenever they wanted. I didn't go down there all the time, but whenever they wanted like a crazy guitar solo or like a real heavy track done, that's when they would call me, you know.
Right. Then you went on to NASCAR. For a person that's been in so many different bands, it's great that you actually had success making music without even having to be in bands. So you always had music in your life.
Yeah, always nonstop.
Now, tell my viewers, what is Shredneck?
Oh, Shredneck. Well, that's a do I have one handy? Geez, do I have one down here? I don't even think I have one down here. I think it's upstairs. It's a device that I invented for practicing because I had busted my hand, my fretboard hand. I had popped this knuckle down by accident, and I was in a half cast. And even when these two fingers were at a half cast, I was so desperate to practice. I practiced with my first and middle finger. You know, I came up with all these different things just by using these two fingers. But when the cast came off, there were all these different hand exercises out. A lot of them had springs and things like that. And I tried. One of them had elastics where you could stretch it. And every time I got done using them, that's not what my hand felt like when I got done practicing. Like when I got done practicing, my fingers were nice and loose. When I did these things with the springs like this, my hands would tighten up. And that's not what it felt like. So I approached this guy to make me a neck. It was just for me. It wasn't for anybody. I said, can you make me a little half a neck here with real strings? I just want to run my fingers back and forth on this thing. It's an exercise machine. It doesn't tune. Like you can't tune it to a chord, but you can pull. It has tuners, so you can adjust the tension of the string. So if I want the strings tighter and I want to pull on them, I use it to keep my calluses strong. I'll pull on the strings, and I'll just run up and down the fretboard like this. So I had it in my car, and I go up to my buddy's house, and he's into all this, stuff, bringing things to life. And he looks in the car and he goes, "Hey, what's that?" I said, "Oh, this is this thing I invented. I just keep it in the car for, practicing. I just sit and run my fingers on it." So, being the guy that he is, he picks it up and, the invent and looking at it and, measuring it out. And he says, "We could do something with this." Next thing I know, he's got prototypes coming in from China and, all this stuff. I go, "Go for it, man. You want to do this? Just go for it." So, it's been great. It's a really cool thing. Just another something under my belt, that, and he's taken over the company though. Basically, I'm still the president, known as the president, but he's added so much more to the line. Now we have mini travel guitars. I got a few of them right over here. In fact, the mini travel ones and travel basses, things like that. Very cool.
Jimi Bell, the inventor of Shredneck.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do it all, baby. I do it all.
You do. And that's why it's a perfect segue. That's why in 2020, you were inducted into the New England Music Hall of Fame.
Yes, that was a real honor.
Well deserved.
Yeah, I got a call when I was out on the road with Autograph. I was playing we were doing a show with Stryper up in New York at the Turning Stone Casino, and I got a call from the one of the guys on the board, and they asked me if this would be cool. They wanted to induct me into the New England Music Hall of Fame. On my 60th birthday, I actually, from All That Shreds magazine, I actually received the Lifetime Achievement Award for that. So that was a real big honor as well, getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's funny, it's like I get the Lifetime Achievement Award, then I get the Hall of Fame Award. It's like, I'm not done. I'm not retiring. Don't put me in the box yet. It's not happening. I've still got a lot more to do here.
That's why I like what Sammy Hagar said when they wanted to come out with the greatest hits. He goes, "That basically says that we're done." He goes, "We have a lot more songs to write. Why do we have to put out the greatest hits?" And they're like, no, it's a good thing to do. So I definitely understand your mentality. You're only halfway. You have like another 50, 60 years. I can picture you.
Yeah, I mean, look at I've got 3 records coming out this year. 3.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, because I had another guest on my show and he was inducted, I think at the same time. His name is Bobby T. Torello.
Oh, Bobby Torello.
Yes. He was on my show and I know he was inducted, I think at the same time as you were.
Yeah. Him and I were inducted together.
He's another great guy. Yeah. Oh my God.
I love Bobby. I've known Bobby forever. Oh, let me tell you, man. That guy, he used to be out of his mind. I love him. He's so insane. I'll never forget watching him when he was playing with Michael Bolton.
Yes.
When Michael Bolton was Michael Bolton back in the day when he was on RCA Records. I watched Bobby. He was playing. Boom, he was slamming the drums. And Bobby was sitting in his chair. And Bobby leaned back so far in the drum seat that I thought he was going over. His whole body was like level like this, like this. I thought he was going down, and then he came back up and went bam on the drum. I'll never forget it. I was like, oh my God, this guy's out of his mind. Really great guy. He calls me up, his raspy voice. He goes,
"Hey, how's it going? Hey, Rich, how are you?" He's a great guy. And it's funny, I saw him perform one time. It was with one of his other bands, and he stood up on the drum chair, started going crazy, banging the drums. Yeah, he's nuts. Great guy, great drummer.
Yeah, he played with Johnny, man. That's you can't get much better than that. Johnny was my Johnny Winter, Richie Blackmore, Al Di Meola. Those were my 3 influences. That's how I built my guitar style. I took those 3 players. I love Johnny Winter, the way he played guitar with the fire that he had. the blues the way that he played blues, because it wasn't just slow blues. He also had a lot of fire in his playing. Richie Blackmore brought in more of the harmonic minor, the different types of melodies. And Al Di Meola is where I learned all my speed picking from. That's the guy. Al was who I just got to meet last year at a show. I got to, like, I have a nice picture of him and I together. That was a big thrill for me. That was one of those fanboy moments, when you actually get to meet someone that meant so much to you growing up as an influence. Like I said, those were my three. I mean, I admired, though, of course, Eddie, with the tapping, that, and of course, Michael Schenker, Jeff Beck, the list goes on of guitar players. Paul Gilbert, who's with Mr. Big, he was always one of my favorite shredders. Out of all the guys from that era that played shred guitar, Paul Gilbert was always one of my favorite shredders, because he doesn't play like the other shredders do. A lot of cats try to do the Yngwie thing, the neoclassical thing, and it's like, Yngwie already did it. You're barking up the wrong tree there. You got to stay away from that.
I agree with you. You had another fanboy moment I want to talk about when you met Les Paul.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I've never, that was insane. This is when I was endorsed with Kramer. We go to a Bon Jovi show. They bring me to a because the president of Kramer is we're doing pictures of Richie Sambora for his new Kramer signature guitar. So we're backstage, and Les Paul is back there. So I'm just like, oh my God, the God himself is here. What do you do? So I get a picture with him, and then the next thing we know, we're going out to dinner together. The president Kramer takes Les out, and we're with them. So we go out, we all eat. And here's my opportunity to ask so many questions. I mean, I had like so many things I wanted to say to this guy who was a legend, and what he created with the guitar. And I couldn't think of anything. I just talked a little bit about arpeggios, and I didn't want to bother him. I wanted to ask him, but then, he could have been one of those guys that would just want to enjoy his meal. He was out eating, I didn't want to say, oh, by the way, okay, tell me about this. And when did you invent this? Because there are people that would have done that to him, and then he might've got annoyed. I wanted it to just be a very, hey, this is cool to meet you. And it's, just to be sitting right next to him at dinner was good enough for me,
You know what? Having you on the show was great. And it was great to meet you, Jimmy. You've been a great guest. You're a tremendous guitar player. Keep up the great work. I cannot wait to see Autograph and all the other work you're doing with House Lords.
Hey, we still made it in 2 hours.
I know. Almost 2 hours to the minute. We started at 9:30 or 8:37.
Yeah, it's great. 2 hours. Well, there we go. So now I know I could tell my whole life story to someone in 2 hours.
So before we go,
64 years I could condense into 2 hours.
Here we are, the Claw's Corner, a Reader's Digest abridged version with Jimi Bell.
Unbelievable. Richard, it's been a great interview. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. But before we go, though, I want to do a little promotion for you. So what's next? I know about Autograph, House of Lords, and where can people find you?
Well, definitely go to autographband.com for any tour dates. And of course, for Beyond Purple show. Yeah, honestly, the best thing to do is I keep my page public so people could look things up. Sometimes it's a little dangerous, but I do, because I get, people posting things on my wall that I really don't want them to, but I always post everything so people could see where I'm playing, what's going on with Autograph, what's going on with Beyond Purple, and any news considering the records that are coming out and everything. And also, please go visit my website, jimibell.com. You could also go jimibellguitarist.com. It'll take you to the same thing. But I didn't own JimiBell.com for a little bit for some reason. I don't know what happened to it, but I got it back. And
for most
so
people,
now,
most people do know, but for people who don't know, it's Jimi, Jimi Bell.
Yeah, Jimi. Yeah, I spell it like the other great lefty. Not by any means thinking that I'm up there with him. I just figured, I'm lefty. I like the way it looks. I like the way Jimmy looks with the two eyes. I just think it looks good. So
it does. Well,
I used to be ashamed of my name. When I was in school, people made fun of me a lot with my last name. It was funny. People would anything they could do with the name Bell, bell bottom or dumbbell or anything that they could think of that rhymed with, how rotten kids are. Used to think of whatever they could do. But then when I started in music, it ended up being the best name that I could have had because it's so short and it relates to an object. When like my name relates to an object, a bell. So it just so happens that most of the time when people say my name, they don't just say Jimmy, they say Jimi Bell because my name is so short. They just say the whole thing. I have people go, "Hey, Jimi Bell, how you doing?" It's like, okay,
But that saying, they say success is the best revenge, and you're living proof. Nobody's laughing at you now, Jimi Bell.
No, I hope not.
Not at all.
But
thank you once
Rich.
again. It was a pleasure having you on the show. It was an honor. And now I know why you were the most requested guest to have. You're great.
Well, I hope your fans, I hope they'll all listen to the show. I hope they'll sit down for 2 hours and listen.
I know they will, because it's definitely worth it. All right. Have a great night.
Friend.
That wraps up the latest. You're welcome. That wraps up the latest episode of the Claws Corner. A huge thanks goes out to legendary guitar player Jimi Bell for taking time out of his very busy schedule to be on the show. I would also like to thank John Bristol of Elmwood Productions for always doing a superb job editing the show and making it available to the public each and every week. Last but definitely not least, I would like to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Enjoy your day, everyone.
All of a sudden I hear, brim, brim.
What's a diaphragm again?
Ha! We caught one.
They're supposed to be weird.
Oh, yeah, no. If you say so.
I've always wanted to be in a movie.
Waiting around for autumn, waiting around for autumn.